Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new video in where I am still getting over the delay announcement for the Batman Part 2. But today is, you know, a bit of like a, I suppose, a hybrid bonus video. And what I mean by hybrid is initially we're going to get into some news-esque stuff with exactly when we could be actually seeing the full reveal for the Superman suit. But we're also going to be going over, as you can tell by the title, some DC leaks, albeit unverified from the DCU Leaks Reddit page, and just giving my somewhat, hey, where do I lean? Complete BS? Or like, actually, could there be a grain of truth in this that I actually do see happening? And not only Superman, but this extends over to other things in DC, such as the Batman, which is kind of funny to say given what we've heard about the script. But first of all, let's get into the somewhat newsy-esque stuff, and this is to do with the full look at the Superman suit. Now, as we know, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone knows, we've got a peek at David Corenswet's Superman suit, and it's just the close-up Kryptonian crest. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly going to be the case, but doing a little bit of investigation here, we may have a good idea of when this could happen. So bear with me. So Natalie Safran, who is the wife of Peter Safran, of whom, as many of you know, is the co-head of DC Studios, posted, obviously, a look at the Kryptonian crest, of which James Gunn revealed, and we have this comment in her Instagram comment section of that photo saying, when will we get a complete look of the costume? Any idea? Please, I'm so excited. And a week ago, she said, not for a bit yet, ... but soon enough, and it's oh so good. So it's like, okay, she's acknowledging, not for a bit yet, you know, okay, not for a bit, but soon enough. So the question is, when the hell could we see it if it's somewhat soon enough? Well, what we now need to look to is the Superman filming dates that we definitely know about. Now, as we know, they're done filming in Norway for the Fortress of Solitude scenes, so the next best guess is where, as James Gunn said himself to Norway Press, that there's probably going to be a lot of press when it comes to the Ohio filming dates. So from DC Film News here, saying Superman Ohio update, we're hearing the film's on-location production is between June 15th and July 30th in Cleveland, possibly Cincinnati. These dates are not all shooting days, but obviously shooting days will be amongst them. This could be when we get our first look. Now, I do understand we're in March right now. We've got a peek at the suit. Everyone wants to see what the full suit looks like. We're waiting the rest of March, and then April, and then you've got May, and then June. Is June 15th, around about there, soon enough? Maybe. I think it could be. I mean, we might even get it a little bit earlier than that, because if Gunn is anticipating press getting photos of the suit, which may not flatter it that nicely, because you know what that's like. People get a look at it, and it doesn't really reflect what it looks like up close and in the right lighting. He might want to get ahead of that, ahead of these filming dates, by maybe a few days to give us a decent look, as in a proper promo photo of David Corenswet in the Superman suit. This is one of the first dates that we can look at and be like, maybe this is what Natalie Safran meant. But there is, believe it or not, another opportunity in where we could see it a little bit sooner. So DC Film News also says here, do you want to be an extra for Superman Legacy? Well, Superman now. Central Casting is currently seeking background actors aged 18+. Filming will take place in Atlanta. The key thing is, from March to June 2024. So again, this doesn't necessarily scream that you are going to see David Corenswet in the suit around about this, you know, date range, because it does just say March, so we're in March right now, to June, but there is a likelihood that it could happen. So, I don't know, guys. I just wanted to kind of put it out there where we could maybe around about see it around about the Cleveland June 15th to July 30th dates, but there is that window of opportunity, which is kind of broad, and where they're saying filming will take place in Atlanta from March to June 2024. I think we could be waiting not necessarily just a few weeks. I think it will be a month or so to 2 months which I think, bottom line, is probably where I would pin the tail on the donkey, if you will. Keep your eye out on these dates, or keep them bookmarked in your head, because I think that would be a good generalized vibe of when to expect the full suit reveal. And what could the suit look like? I mean, everyone's got their speculations about that, trunks, no trunks kind of thing, but then again, it seems like very recently that trunks may or may not, I wouldn't say confirmed, if you will, but could have been teased by none other than Peter Safran's wife, Natalie Safran, by liking this comment. This comment was a bit of a jokey comment at the same time, because the user said, "I feel weird for being glad that the suit will have trunks on." So maybe a bit jokey, but also like maybe they're so sure that the suit will have trunks on, so they're like, I feel weird for being so glad about the suit having trunks on. But Natalie Safran liked it. Now, again, I'm not stupid. Like, this isn't an outright confirmation, but some or many may perceive that as, what if she just wasn't really thinking too much about it and liked it, knowing full well that the suit does have trunks on it? And if we're kind of facing it, this Superman suit, I probably am leaning on the side of the likelihood of that it probably will have trunks to some description. I know people are very split on that. So many people want it. So many people don't at the same time. I also think, just like what James Gunn did with the Superman crest, blending it with all kinds of Superman inspirations embedded in there, from classical to kind of modernized, I think he's going to do that with the rest of the suit, which brings me to this image in where James Gunn basically debunked, if you will, and rolled his eyes at saying, is this true? Because this scooper, if you will, said, "I hear Gunn's Superman suit will look something like this." And he just responds with a, eye-rolling emoji, which is basically him being like, probably not. But what I will say is that all while he is eye-rolling at this, I believe it's like the Fortnite look at it or whatever it is, probably meaning that it's not going to be like armored in the way that you're seeing on screen right now, or like have this high-tech, so no new 52 biosuit nanotech manifestation of the Superman suit. I wouldn't really want that. I mean, fair enough if you do appreciate that. But obviously, aspects to this design, what you can say, and maybe this is what the original poster was getting at, can, still be put into the actual suit that David Corenswet is going to be wearing. So obviously trunks, maybe the boots being quite high up there, maybe even a collar. I know some people are really, really skeptical as to whether should Superman's suit have a collar on it, or should it be kind of just cut off at the collarbone here. So all I have to say here after my big Superman suit ramble is, let me know what you think of everything I just discussed. The last little tidbit that I want to chuck in here is that Deadline is also maintaining that Andy Muschietti is still attached to Batman, the Brave and the Bold. The reason why I mention that is because there's a lot of people who are still like, oh, they're just saying that in the public, for the press. They're maintaining this because there was rumors in the background that maybe he's not or is no longer attached to the project. It's just that they're going to wait a while until certain developments happen, until they announce that he's not. There's all kinds of theories as to why this was happening because of the Flash movie. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's still being maintained that Muschietti is directing Batman in the DCU, but there will be people who are still insistent that until it's announced that he's not, they're just keeping it under wraps until that day comes where they say, yeah, basically, due to creative differences, that would most definitely be the headline. It always is when it comes to directors, departing. They're expecting that. So let me know what you think about it. Do you believe that he is still directing Brave and the Bold? There is really no reason for him to not be, unless you truly do believe that because of the Flash's performance, Gunn is secretly being like, oh God, I regret my decision. But to be honest, that is all at this point conjecture. Like, as of right now, the facts are Gunn chose Muschietti. He's still the director, and nothing has really changed because of that. And very strong sources behind the scenes are adamant that nothing has changed as well. Okay, so now moving on to finally the leaks section of this video, where, as I said, welcome to another edition of Strange Adventures in the Mod Queue, the place for unverified claims that we encounter via mod mail and across the subreddit. So, to emphasize, the below are all unverified claims and should be taken with a pinch of salt. I couldn't agree more. I'm doing this because people just wanted to hear my thoughts about this as a hypothetical, hey, what if they actually went with this? What if somebody did know something and they've actually put it here? Because, to be honest, that is a possibility, but it's also probably a stronger possibility that some of this could be BS, but I'm going to dig into it anyway. I'm going to try and not spend too long on each one because, well, you know me, I'll be here forever. So, unverified claims for Superman Legacy. Layla Robbins and Lyndon Ashby are in talks to play Ma and Pa Kent. Now, I cannot wait for the castings of Ma and Pa Kent. I have to admit, now I'm not saying people don't know who these actors are whatsoever. I was thinking for at least maybe Ma and Pa Kent, they would get a huge, not necessarily a huge name, but if you haven't noticed already, the cast, not that there's anything wrong with this, even though some people like to think there is, aren't exactly like top A-listers. You know, David Corenswet, this is definitely a huge breakout role for him. Yes, he was on Hollywood and Netflix, but do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say he was even as, you know, successful in terms of loads of projects likened to that of even Rachel Brosnahan. Rachel Brosnahan's definitely a lot more up there, but still, you know, looking at Anthony Carrigan, everyone like kind of knows who these actors are, but you wouldn't exactly say, you know, Ben Affleck or you know, other actors of the like. So I thought maybe, you know, they would get another Russell Crowe example, you know, like how he was Jor-El, but for maybe Ma and Pa Kent. Now, again, I'm not saying that Layla Robbins isn't, you know, recognizable or Lyndon Ashby. And to be honest, it's kind of like a why not thing, you know, like, sure. But I don't really know how to feel. I feel kind of, if I'm being honest here, and this isn't negative, I just feel, I don't know if the word would be indifferent. It's like, okay, you know, yeah, I can see that. Sure, why not? You know, they're not going to be major roles, but that's precisely why, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be major roles, but I assume that Ma and Pa Kent, if they're going for the more Superman for all seasons approach here, where Jonathan Kent is still around, would probably just be complementary to the movie's plot. So I thought, yeah, maybe you wouldn't have to pay a Kurt Russell equivalent, for example, a huge amount of money to just have a, you know, a couple of scenes and where Clark brings Lois to the Kent farm for a nice farmhouse dinner. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So I'd love to know your thoughts about those two rumored actors to be in talks for Ma and Pa Kent. Now, from a different user, they go and say, I have a source that is friends with production crew for the Superman film and some details. Okay. Clark in this film is extremely vulnerable and human in this film. You really want to give this guy a big hug. I mean, so far, like, yeah, it just sounds like Clark, I guess, bit of goofy Clark. But they go and say he struggles internally with his place in the world as a hero and questions whether he is cut out for this superhero gig. Other superheroes in the community are really fascinating in ideology to what makes a hero or what are the confines of what a hero should be. Mr. Terrific's suit is gold and probably the best looking, and the engineer is so cool in this film. All I'm gonna say for now. So when I read stuff like this, it's kind of like, to be honest, if you were half knowledgeable about this film, roughly, you know, in how what Gunn has said, this isn't an origin. Superman is an established hero in the world, albeit not necessarily a seasoned veteran Superman. He, you know, is struggling to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. This is a world in which views kindness as old-fashioned. All of this, it feels like a synopsis or a description of some kind that even I could write and claim as a leak. Now, this isn't me saying that this is false. I'm just saying and trying to put on the table of how this is kind of, you know, to an extent already known about the film or things that I would have assumed. You know, superheroes in the community are really fascinating in the ideology to what makes a hero. And Clark is also wondering whether he's cut out for this superhero gig or, you know, just struggling internally with his place in the world. That matches up to like the reverse Kingdom Come theory. Granted, that's a theory, but that's led me and many others to think maybe the climate of the world, Earth, in the 21st century, in the 2020s, has a hero kind of situation going on, as Gunn says, and where heroes have existed for a long, long time. So therefore, you get a lot of wannabe heroes, anti-heroes out there. I don't need to repeat that for the zillionth time. But as a result, given that Superman isn't like the first hero, since heroes go back to like the JSA days and God knows really centuries before that probably with metahumans and whatnot, this is what I mean by this living, breathing DC universe, or as Gunn says, it's cool that Clark growing up would kind of view, okay, who am I going to be in this world that views kindness as old-fashioned? And also, I don't know too much about my Kryptonian heritage, and, you know, I love being a human because I've been raised human, literally out of the pod as a baby, adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent. I've gone to high school, I've done all of these things, but I'm also not of this world. So, like, I kind of want to figure out who so all of this, it's like the ebb and flow of what we expect anyway. So I do think, you know, what I will say, entertaining, if this is just a bit of an expansion on what we know, but actually said from a legitimate source. So just assuming that, it is kind of cool to imagine or have it reaffirmed what we were thinking anyway was kind of what the film is going to be in tone or vibes, if you will. And I do believe that would kind of make you want to give David Corenswet's Superman a big hug. And I think that's going to be the case anyway. I think Gunn's going to really make Clark more relatable than ever. And that's why you're going to see a lot more of just not only the Superman side and, you know, the things he does as Superman, whether it's that all-star Superman moment to also just Clark and his everyday struggles likened to that of what most people experience with stress in life, but now having the weight of the world on your shoulders as the Superman. I think he's got the perfect demeanor that you can imagine he's going to bring into this role for Superman that is not only this big old galoof, as Gunn says, this goofy, you know, of which Clark is, but also it's gonna, I think there's gonna be a spectrum and many different shades of Clark that we see with the mantle of responsibility he has and where he's still trying to figure things out despite having been active for Superman, as Superman for a couple of years, but still being like, damn, like, who am I? And we get to see what he's like amongst his metahuman compatriots and whatnot. So yeah, this is just, I don't know what to say other than, well, what I just rambled about there. It is something that is just kind of a bit too vague to really slam my hand down on if this is fake or not. It could be easily made up, or it could just be somebody explaining a little bit of inside information they have, which is kind of stuff, ironically, we already know about. Roughly. But yeah, actually, having said that, I can't wait to see Mr. Terrific's suit. That'd be really cool. And the engineer being so cool in this film, I would tend to believe as well, because it's not like they wouldn't aim for her to not be cool, but also I do think that Gunn's going to make her a big role in this film. Because obviously she's going to go on to be in the Authority movies. Now, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, very quickly here, Nikki Caro is in talks to direct. Haven't seen anything she's done. I know she directed Mulan, I believe. I've heard things about that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Now, this is where things get kind of strange with Batman and Abrams' Superman with what's being claimed here. My God. My God. And this is where I'm starting to, like, maybe exit out this situation of the leaks here. So, Coates and Abrams Superman. Abrams Superman was remodeled to be in Matt's universe, as in Matt Reeves' Batverse. Gunn wants to do something different and have the DCU universe, so the DC universe, well constructed, okay, and have another universe like Earth 2, okay, and in the future make a union. Gunn accepted Warner's idea of a multiverse, but you want to do it right and well-constructed without being left out and poorly done. So, if anything, for once, there's a theory here going against the popular conspiracies of, oh, I know Gunn's killing the Batverse. No, apparently, he's got to expand it out to an Earth 2 situation, let it grow, let it prosper, but also bring in Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Superman movie, or Superman into the Batverse, and then eventually do some kind of union or crossover. And yeah, I'm sorry, no. No, I call complete BS on this one. I mean, I don't even know if the J.J. Abrams Black Superman movie is even going to happen. Now, yeah, Gunn said it's still in development, but don't forget, that doesn't mean it's been greenlit. They have a very high bar, as Gunn has said, for Elseworlds movies. And this movie, God, it's, you know, come to think of it, it's been in development for so long. Maybe I'm showing like some original reports of it on screen. That's how long it's been in development for. Like a long-ass time. You think Matt Reeves takes a while to write? Oh my God, this one's been, I guess, through a few regimes at Warner Brothers, if I remember correctly. And it's still being developed. But even then, guys, just like the Constantine sequel with Keanu Reeves, that's being worked on right now. With Akiva Goldsman and whatnot, but that they still need to get approved. There's no guarantee they're going to go into actual pre-production, and I wouldn't get ahead of yourself with that one. I don't think this will happen. And by the way, I wouldn't want J.J. Abrams to have anything to do with, you know, creatively controlling, in even some degree, Matt Reeves' Batverse by implementing his own ideas of a Superman going in there. And look, I'm not saying I haven't been entertained by J.J. Abrams before in his movies, but I don't think he's that great, if I'm being honest. I think all of his stuff, even Star Trek, again, entertaining, but I don't think they're that great. You know, they're really not. But fair enough if you do think that. But yeah, I don't really know what to say about this. I think this one is one of the most bizarre that I've heard of. And now moving on to, lastly here, the Batman Part 2. So this is interesting because I think you could argue, how do people know about this or are claiming this in this unverified leak section if the script isn't done? And they even say here, the script isn't done yet, which is common knowledge. But plot details have been flowing around the DC offices, and I found something out. Okay, I mean, I can't really say one way or the other about that. I mean, I think it's unlikely, especially with Matt Reeves. I think, I'm not saying he's like Nolan, but you know how you hear how you have to fly out to read Nolan's script and it's printed on red paper and all of that? I feel like Matt Reeves is one of those types. But maybe you could argue, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he exchanged information with James Gunn last January about their Batverse plans and his plans for Batman in the DCU. So, you know, I'm just saying, arguably, things could get out there about ideas. But, you know, I mean, I don't really need to, like, investigate this. Just take it as you will there. The script isn't done, we know that, and they're saying the script isn't done. But apparently, the DC offices, people are having their cups of tea and coffee, being like, oh, you hear what Matt Reeves wrote on paragraph 4 of page 5? I kind of like that. I mean, is this what we're going off of here? The movie will focus on the trial of the Riddler as he's being prosecuted by the new district attorney Harvey Dent, which is funny since we're getting a new Harvey in Joker 2 also. That is true. Dent will be prosecuting Arthur Fleck by the looks of it. Harvey stays Harvey though, so no Two-Face in this movie. That is something that I have been saying that I want to happen. If you bring in Harvey Dent to help restore the institutions of Gotham, as Bella Real said at the end of the first movie, I don't want him to become Two-Face. Let him be Harvey for a bit. I mean, I don't think we need to... I'm not saying it would repeat The Dark Knight from Nolan, but in a way it kind of would. Like, hey, Harvey's introduced, Harvey is Harvey Two-Face, Harvey done. No, we don't need that. Let that be some kind of thing that's built up to, if at all, right? Or even just, if you're not going to do it, just tease like the personality symptoms there, and where maybe he gets a bit over-aggressive or too passive-aggressive with Big Bad Harv coming out, which has been explored before. And, you know, one of my favorite things back in the day with the animated series, where you see him struggling with that. It's really, really cool. But yeah, as for the Riddler, as he's being prosecuted, I mean, I guess this is all, you know, starting to seem a bit dark victory, especially as this unfolds. You know, Hush is the villain. This has been a rumor for a bit as well amongst Clayface and other things like that. But see how they tie all of these long-standing rumors in there. Tommy Elliott runs a charity that's rebuilding Gotham after the flood. I like this idea. I will admit it. Think Lincoln March from the New 52 and Elliot from the comics without the childhood friends stuff. So I like that comparison there to the New 52 Batman. I see what vision they're pointing out. And to be honest, like, if Hush was a thing with a new innovative way of doing him, because a lot of people are like, oh, but Riddler was basically the Hush. How are you going to do Hush? I've been insistent I'm sure Matt Reeves would do something pretty cool. This is like just based off of like what's on paper. Not a bad outline, right? You had Edward Elliot, the reporter, die, and, you know, he thinks that Thomas Wayne was put up to that because that's what the public think. We've been over this many times in my discussion series. Bruce learned the truth from Alfred in hospital that Thomas Wayne didn't order Falcone to kill Edward Elliot. But the public, who all saw on the big billboards of, you know, Midtown and everything like that, downtown in Gotham, when they promoted this on the news, they literally played Riddler's live stream exposing the Waynes, right? And how, you know, there's the murder of the Arkhams, the murder-suicide and stuff like that. They don't know anything else. Like, for all intents and purposes, the Waynes have a bad name right now in Gotham. So Tommy Elliott would, I guess, run with that and have a bit of, I guess, a grudge. I don't know. This is where it needs more depth because, you know, just because you believe that Thomas Wayne may have done that, what's your beef with Bruce? Like, Bruce didn't do this to your dad. But maybe that's the whole, hey, you know, Tommy Elliott isn't exactly sound in the mind, so I don't know. I think it does need a lot of expansion because that seems really weak in of itself, right? But yeah, I still think on paper it's not too bad. Like, if he was running a charity, help it, you know, organically coming into the story that way, maybe he earned his own name given that he lost his father, he's still rich somehow. Hush manipulates Clayface, who's going to be introduced in The Penguin. That's a cool callback here. It seems like this person... I feel like it's it's almost like if I was trying to write a pretend leak almost. I'm not saying this is fake, but like, some of you may remember the Clayface leak actually goes all the way back. The original leak or rumor about Clayface being in Matt Reeves' Batverse wasn't about like the part 2 or anything like that. It was that Clayface would appear in the Penguin show. This goes back a long time now. So they're referencing that. And that's like, either this person is making this up and knows and has it all bookmarked like me in my head of like where everything was like originally founded from. Or like maybe they're telling the truth and all the rumors we've heard were actually going somewhere. I don't know. So yeah, Hush manipulates Clayface, who's going to be introduced in Penguin, into working for him. And he takes Bruce's identity later on to mess with his life. Now, with Matt Reeves' grounded universe, I've always admitted, while I don't think it's going to go all out fantastical, so you're not going to get a blob clay monster, right? I have said that they might walk the line of like realism. So I'm not saying he will be totally, absolutely realistic. So you might get some unrealistic aspects, such as, you know, how in Mission Impossible you get Tom Cruise literally wearing a different face, and that is literally a different face. Like, some people tell me, no, Boba, that is realistic. Like, unless I'm crazy, I don't think we have that kind of material where literally what they do is they CGI another face on in the movie. It's not real in the movie, obviously. So I feel like maybe Reeves could like do something like that mixed with makeup. You could even have what Colin Farrell has undergone, right? As Oz Cobblepot, he transforms. So I do prefer Clayface trying to steal the identity of Bruce Wayne through like this expert prosthetic guy, and they just actually have Robert Pattinson act it out or something for those scenes. It's obviously not realistic because that's literally Robert Pattinson acting out those scenes, but I don't know. You see where I'm going with that. It's a fine line because that is basically fantastical, but it's obviously not a big blob monster, which is going super basically what the DCU will be with the Brave and the Bold Batman fantastical. So yeah, I mean, that's what I've entertained before when talking about Clayface and how you could have the Golden Age, but also the Golden Age meeting halfway to the popularly known fantastical version with not just a mask, but actual decent manipulation of changing your looks. Hush is less of a serial killer and he's more of a psychopathic rival vigilante, and the rise of hatred and criminals has risen because of the Riddler. So I really do kind of like that idea in one aspect. And that's how one of my favorite reads from Batman in like the past year or so was Batman the Imposter, which was written by Mattson Tomlin, the co-writer of Part 2. And I really do feel like the kind of Daredevil bullseye, yet like Batman, there's an imposter Batman out there, like discrediting Batman, is a cool idea to go for. Now, that's not what I'm saying here, but if like the next villain was almost, you could say, well, maybe it is a bit too similar to the first movie because Riddler did view himself as a vigilante who, after Batman following all these clues he left for him, they would reunite in Arkham and basically be best friends. Like, he felt like they were communicating the whole time. But yeah, I don't know. Hush is less of a serial killer and he's more of a psychopathic rival vigilante. You know, again, I'm probably getting into my Batman the Imposter. Oh, that could be cool. But, you know, the more I read this, I'm like, okay, so where's this going? What even is the plot here? He's also hiring Clayface to steal Bruce's identity. Maybe you could argue what they're going for here is that he wants to be, he knows, I don't know if he knows Bruce is Batman, but he wants to be the better Batman, so he wants to replace Batman as a vigilante, all while systematically kind of destroying Bruce Wayne's life in the Hush kind of way because he resents him and what his father did to Edward Elliot, of which you learned in the first movie, even though it wasn't Thomas Wayne, in where he thinks that Thomas Wayne got him killed. So not only does he want to dismantle Bruce Wayne, steal his identity, he's out there to also go against criminals as a better Batman. And Batman's like, not only do I have to deal with my identity being destroyed, and I need to now like lean into the theme of identity that the second movie will take anyway, and that is, you know, going out there a bit more as Bruce Wayne and maybe counteracting whatever he's hired Clayface to do. But I've also got on the Batman front this crazy Tommy Elliot who's trying to be a better me, but he's really a more psychopathic me. Is that what they're going for? I can kind of see what they're saying there. It's definitely a take on Hush. And then, of course, Robin is in the movie, and he and Alfred end up saving Bruce from being killed by Hush near the end of the second act. I don't know how fans would feel about that, you know, Bruce being saved. you know, by Alfred and Robin. I'm not saying that's not doable or believable, because sometimes Batman has been in a position where, like, somebody else has kind of got him out of it. But I think at face value, people are like, wait, so you're saying if Alfred wasn't there, like, Bruce would have died? The Batman dead? So he wasn't capable of getting out of that trap last second or whatever it was by himself? I don't know, guys. Robin? So Robin is already trained, or is it just Dick Grayson? Is Dick Grayson, like, running along with Alfred and saving Bruce, or is he already trained? And him and Alfred, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's so vague, so I don't know what to say about that last one. But yeah, no, I don't really take that stuff seriously, but it was kind of fun to talk about anyway for the Batman Part 2 stuff. It just seems like people are, with this particular one, yeah, just maybe putting in their own fan fiction stuff for potential leaks for the Batman Part 2. But I don't believe those. Even though, you know, there were a few grains in it that I thought were like, you know, that could be too, like, or half bad there. You know, I can imagine that there could be an addressing of Riddler's trial in the second movie as a new villain rises. Again, that's where the Dark Victory stuff comes in. And then, of course, there's the Robin stuff. And then, of course, you've got to reference rumored villains that have been out there, from Clayface to Hush and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't know, guys. But let me know your thoughts on everything we discussed there with these unverified leaks. I thought it'd be fun, because even though mostly all of it is probably false, it's like a mini discussion series episode within this video, and where it might spring you guys some ideas for what could be happening in not only Superman, but in the Batman as well. Don't even listen to the J.J. Abrams Superman blending with the Matt Reeves Batverse one, though, because that one to me was just wild. That was wild. Anyway, though, guys, if you got to this point of the video, I'd really appreciate a like. Let YouTube know that you're enjoying the content. Seriously, through leaving a like, it does that. The algorithm's like, oh, this person liked it. Not only did they like it, they left a comment as well. Subscribe. Why not? If you've been watching me for a while and you found that you haven't hit that red button yet, what are you doing? Subscribe. I'm sure you're going to continue to enjoy the content here. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, DC family, in the next video. Goodbye.